Crimea is emptying out, panic is spreading fast, and something critical is breaking under Russia's control. Silent evacuations, cracked supply routes, and a collapsing land bridge are triggering fear across the region. What's really happening behind the scenes, and why are civilians disappearing without announcements? Stay till the end, because the truth is far bigger than headlines suggest. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are breaking down a developing situation that is sending shockwaves across Eastern Europe. Crimea, once portrayed as secure and stable, is now witnessing something alarming. Reports, satellite imagery, and local accounts all point to one unsettling reality. People are quietly leaving. No sirens, no official evacuation orders, just a slow, steady disappearance. This kind of movement doesn't happen without reason. Shops are closing earlier, fuel lines are growing longer, and military convoys are replacing tourist traffic. The atmosphere has shifted from confidence to caution. What makes this moment critical is timing. This is not happening after a public defeat or declaration. It is happening in silence. That silence is what worries analysts the most. When civilians begin relocating before official statements, it often signals behind the scenes assessments that conditions may soon deteriorate. Authorities deny panic, yet logistical patterns suggest preparation for disruption. Crimea's strategic importance means even minor instability sends ripple effects far beyond the peninsula. We are not talking about rumors. We are talking about visible movement, altered routines, and an unspoken understanding that something fundamental is changing. In today's video, we will break down why Crimea is emptying out, what the cracking land bridge means, and how this could reshape the wider conflict. Watch carefully, because every section connects to the next. To understand the panic, we must first understand Crimea's dependency. Crimea is not self-sustaining. It relies heavily on supply lines coming from mainland Russia. Food, fuel, ammunition, and even water all depend on a narrow logistical corridor known as the land bridge. This bridge is not just a road. It is a lifeline. Over recent months, that lifeline has come under immense pressure. Precision strikes, infrastructure damage, and constant surveillance have reduced its reliability. When a supply route becomes unpredictable, everything built on it starts to shake. Military planners can adapt, but civilians cannot. Shortages don't announce themselves immediately. They begin subtly. Fuel limits, delayed shipments, inconsistent electricity. These are early warning signs. When residents notice these patterns repeating, trust collapses. The fear is not of what has happened, but of what could happen next. People remember previous crises. They remember sudden isolation. That memory fuels quick decisions. Another factor is perception. Even the belief that the land bridge might fail is enough to cause movement. Markets react to expectations, not confirmations. So do people. As uncertainty grows, those with resources leave first. Their departure becomes a signal to others. This chain reaction accelerates emptying. Crimea's vulnerability is not theoretical anymore. It is visible in traffic flows, shipping data, and altered military priorities. A cracking land bridge means a cracking sense of safety. Panic does not spread randomly. It spreads through information gaps. In Crimea, official messaging remains calm, almost detached. Yet reality on the ground tells a different story. When governments say little, people read everything. A delayed ferry, a closed road, an unexpected checkpoint. Each small change becomes a message. Social media, private chats, and word of mouth fill the silence. This creates a parallel information network faster than any press release. Families share what they see, not what they're told. Panic thrives when trust erodes. Another critical element is selective evacuation. Reports suggest families of officials and certain workers have quietly relocated. Even if unconfirmed, such reports spread rapidly. People ask one question. If there is nothing to worry about, why are some leaving early? This question alone is powerful. Add to this the constant background noise of drone activity and air defense alerts. Even when intercepted, the psychological effect remains. Sleep is disrupted, routines break, stress accumulates. Over time, staying feels riskier than leaving. Panic is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like packed cars at dawn and empty apartments by nightfall. Crimea is experiencing that silent panic. Not chaos, but calculation driven by fear. This stage is critical because once enough people leave, services begin to fail faster. Schools close, clinics understaffed, normal life unravels, reinforcing the decision to escape. The land bridge cracking is not just physical damage, it is strategic pressure. Every convoy delayed increases strain on local stockpiles. Every repair attempt signals vulnerability. Opposing forces don't need to destroy the bridge completely. They only need to make it unreliable. Unreliability changes behavior. Military logistics demand certainty. Civilian life demands predictability. When neither exists, control weakens. Crimea's geography worsens the problem. Water shortages already force dependence on external supply systems. Energy infrastructure remains exposed. Ports are monitored. Airspace is contested. The land bridge was the one stable element tying everything together. As that stability erodes, contingency plans activate. These plans often prioritize military needs first. Civilians understand this instinctively. They know resources will be redirected. That knowledge accelerates departures. Another layer is symbolism. Crimea has been portrayed as untouchable. Cracks in the land bridge shatter that image. Symbolic damage can be more destabilizing than physical loss. It challenges narratives that justified occupation and control. Once belief collapses, authority weakens. This is why the situation matters beyond maps. It affects morale, legitimacy, and long-term strategy. A territory cannot be held by force alone forever. It must feel safe to those living there. Right now, safety feels conditional. Conditional safety is no safety at all. The land bridge cracking represents the moment when conditional stability becomes openly questioned. That question is now driving the peninsula's quiet evacuation. Military movements often precede civilian movement, but in Crimea the lines are blurring. Increased troop presence does not reassure residents. It alarms them. More checkpoints, more vehicles, more restrictions signal preparation, not peace. These measures suggest anticipation of escalation. Civilians read these signs clearly. Another concern is timing. Evacuations are happening before winter pressures ease. Leaving now means people expect conditions to worsen, not improve. This expectation is critical. It reflects assessments made not by analysts, but by families protecting themselves. Also important is who is leaving. Skilled workers, medical staff, and logistics professionals are among the first to relocate. This creates secondary effects. Hospitals struggle, maintenance slows, essential services weaken. A region doesn't collapse suddenly. It hollow outs. Crimea appears to be hollowing out. Authorities may try to stabilize appearances, but numbers don't lie. Housing vacancies increase. Enrollment drops. Consumer demand falls. These indicators show long-term confidence loss. Military planners must now account for civilian absence. Empty cities change defensive calculations. They remove human shields, but expose infrastructure. This shift alters strategic risk. Crimea's role as a forward base becomes harder to sustain without local support. Supply lines stretch further. Costs increase. Stress multiplies. All of this feeds back into panic. When people sense a place is transitioning from home to battlefield, they leave. This is not ideological. It is survival instinct. Crimea is crossing that psychological threshold right now. The international dimension amplifies everything. Crimea is not isolated geopolitically. Every movement there is watched closely. Satellite imagery, shipping data, and intelligence leaks quickly shape global narratives. When images show reduced traffic or altered port activity, markets and governments react. This reaction feeds back into local anxiety. Residents understand they are living inside a geopolitical pressure point. That awareness is exhausting. Constant tension wears people down. Another factor is unpredictability. Negotiations stall. Red lines shift. No clear timeline exists. In such environments, people choose certainty over hope. Leaving provides control. Staying feels passive. This mindset spreads fast. Even those initially determined to remain begin preparing exit plans. Suitcases appear quietly. Property listings increase. These are not dramatic acts. They are practical. Crimea's emptying is not a mass flight yet. It is a calculated drawdown. But drawdowns can accelerate rapidly once a tipping point is reached. History shows this pattern repeatedly. When confidence collapses, movement spikes overnight. The land bridge cracking pushes Crimea closer to that tipping point. Every day without reassurance pushes more people to act. The longer uncertainty persists, the faster the hollowing becomes. This is why current developments matter now, not later. Momentum favors movement, not stability. And momentum is building quietly. Control relies on perception as much as force. In Crimea, perception is shifting. The image of permanence is fading. When permanence fades, investment stops. Families stop planning futures. Children stop enrolling. These subtle changes mark strategic decline. Even if military control remains, social control weakens. That is dangerous for any occupying power. Empty spaces are harder to govern. Surveillance increases, but trust decreases. This creates a brittle environment prone to sudden shocks. Another issue is messaging fatigue. Repeated reassurances lose effectiveness. When official statements conflict with lived experience, credibility collapses. People trust patterns more than promises. And patterns currently point toward instability. The land bridge cracking becomes a metaphor for wider fracture. Infrastructure reflects intent. If repairs lag or protection fails, people assume priorities have shifted. They assume resources are stretched. These assumptions may or may not be accurate, but perception drives behavior. Crimea's emptying out reflects a collective calculation. Risk now outweighs reward. That calculation can reverse only with clear, sustained stability signals. So far, those signals are absent. Instead, uncertainty deepens. Uncertainty is the enemy of settlement. It favors mobility. It favors exit. Crimea is entering a phase where control may exist on paper, but life drains away. That is a strategic loss regardless of maps. Looking ahead, several scenarios emerge. If the land bridge continues to weaken, supply constraints will intensify. This will force prioritization. Military needs will dominate. Civilian life will adapt downward. Such adaptation often includes rationing and restrictions. These measures further reduce confidence. Alternatively, if stabilization occurs quickly, some movement may reverse. But reversals require trust, not just repairs. Trust takes time. Another scenario involves sudden escalation. In that case, remaining civilians could face abrupt evacuation orders. That possibility motivates early departures. People prefer leaving on their own terms. The window for voluntary exit may be closing. That urgency drives current behavior. International pressure also shapes outcomes. Sanctions, diplomacy, and military aid all intersect here. Crimea sits at that intersection. This makes it uniquely sensitive to external shifts. A single event elsewhere can ripple into local consequences. Residents know this. They live with constant anticipation. Anticipation without clarity is draining. Over time, draining becomes decisive. The quiet nature of this emptying is deceptive. It feels slow until it isn't. Analysts watching population trends understand this pattern well. The question is not whether movement will continue, but how fast it will accelerate. The land bridge cracking is the catalyst. It turns long-term risk into immediate concern. That shift changes everything. What we are witnessing is not collapse, but transition. Crimea is transitioning from a civilian, normalized zone to a contested strategic asset. That transition carries human cost. People caught in between choose safety. This choice is rational. It is repeated across history. The absence of dramatic images does not mean absence of crisis. Slow crises are often more telling. They reveal structural weakness. Crimea's emptying highlights those weaknesses clearly. Infrastructure dependence, psychological fatigue, strategic overextension. Each layer compounds the next. The land bridge cracking exposes all layers simultaneously. This is why panic, even silent, makes sense. Panic here is not hysteria. It is adaptation. People are adapting to signals of instability. They are reading between lines. They are acting before headlines force them to. This behavior should be taken seriously. It reflects deep confidence erosion. Rebuilding that confidence will be harder than repairing any bridge, because bridges can be reinforced. Trust is fragile. Once broken, it rarely returns fully. Crimea's future will be shaped not just by military outcomes, but by whether people believe life there is sustainable. Right now, belief is draining away. That drain changes the strategic equation. Territories without people lose value. Control without community is hollow. Crimea risks becoming such a space if current trends continue. In conclusion, Crimea is emptying out not because of one event, but because of accumulated signals. The cracking land bridge symbolizes logistical fragility. Panic grows when fragility becomes visible. Civilians act early because waiting carries cost. This movement reshapes the conflict landscape. It affects supply, morale, and legitimacy. Ignoring it would be a mistake. Understanding it provides insight into what may come next. Watch this space closely. Developments here will not stay local. They will ripple outward. The silence surrounding these departures is intentional. Loud evacuations invite attention. Quiet ones reveal calculation. That calculation tells us confidence is fading. Whether this trend accelerates or stabilizes depends on actions taken now. Stability requires more than force. It requires predictability, trust, and sustained security. Without those, territories hollow out. Crimea is showing signs of that hollowing. This moment matters because it marks a shift from control to containment, from expansion to preservation. That shift often precedes larger changes. Stay informed. Question narratives. Look for patterns. And remember, movement often begins long before announcements. Crimea's story is unfolding quietly, but its implications will be loud.